What's going on, guys? It's the Bigs Podcast, episode number 167. And today we are going to break down the first base position with our 2025 rankings. It is a packed house here this evening as we welcome in three co-hosts with me tonight, starting off with the return of Mike Haber. Mike, how you doing tonight, my friend?
I am doing awesome. I'm so glad to be here talking baseball. I mean, it's right around the corner, right? Or down
Abs-
the street and then around the
yeah,
corner. Something
yeah,
like
it's
that.
in the neighborhood. We're in the
Yeah.
neighborhood. We're looking at it this year. It's going to be a great year. Frank Bucco is also here with us. Frank, how you doing tonight, my friend?
Doing well, doing well. Happy to be back again. Love it. Love to be talking baseball with you guys.
That's that, and we are happy to have you as well. Jason Ashby joins us as well from Denver, Colorado. Jason, how you feeling about first base this year, my friend?
Um, better than catcher, that's for sure. I think it's still a very volatile position. There's some guys who can really fall off a cliff here, and some guys who can really impress. But I like the list. I think there's some good names here, especially down towards the bottom of the list. I think there's some guys who can move up next year.
It'll be a really interesting season at the first base position. It's interesting that we have given 25 names to me, and again I put them in a spreadsheet and figured out who we agreed on, who's missing in each other's lists, aggregated everything out to a nice round number of 16 that we agree upon. Interesting number because we have 16 in the bigs. So let's dive right into this thing. We'll talk about the 16 we agree on. Then there's 5 names that are on 3 lists, but not on someone else's list. So that'll be interesting to talk about. And then I'm going to get mad at you 3 gentlemen at the end of the show, but stay tuned for that. Let's dive right into this thing. The number 1 overall first baseman is the consensus number 1. We all have him at number 1. It is Vlad Guerrero Jr. Mike Haber, I'm going to start with you here. Let's talk about Vlad, man. How good was he last year?
Yeah, we were just kind of waiting for him to put it all together, right? And then here we go. We get 2024 season of these just impeccable numbers, solid hitting across the board, and not just power, like contact, average. You hope that the Blue Jays really support him in that lineup. That's kind of the only drawback at this point because what is Bo Bichette going to be, and then what is the rest of the cast around him? But other than that, model of consistency. It was between him and Freddie Freeman, and I gave the edge to Vlad this year.
Vlad had himself one hell of a year, 323 average, 30 homers, 103 RBIs, and only a 13.8% strikeout rate. Gotta love to see that. Almost as many walks as strikeouts. He was far and away the guy with the hardest hit percentage, the hardest average exit velocity. Any metric you want to take a look at, Vlad led the league at first base last year. Frank, any question here? Was there ever a question about putting Vlad at number 1?
No, not at all.
Not at
Not at
all.
all. Walk to strikeout ratio is really good, 72 to 96, 396 on base percentage. Like that's ridiculous. And you know, it, it's just a shame that he plays for the team he plays for
Mm.
because they were supposed to be so good. And where he put it together, the rest of the team is not. So I hope that doesn't necessarily affect him if he remains a Blue Jay this entire season. Well, that's yet to come, but
Yeah.
no, there's no
There's
question about it.
there is no question he is number 1. The question really is how good is this going to be in a walk year? Jason, how good do you expect this season to be from Vlad in a walk year?
In a walk year, I mean, look, he did what he did in 2024 with a subpar Blue Jays lineup. So even in 2025, with a subpar Blue Jays lineup, even if he matches that, that's a fantastic walk year, and it's something to write home about. I can see him doing better. Like even his down years, like 2023 was a down year. He still hit 26 home runs with 94 RBIs.
Mhm.
This kid is a stud. He's just 26. He's just going into his prime now. Like I can see 35 home runs easily for this kid.
Yeah, it's going to be an amazing year for Vlad. I would expect him to be a first-round selection in the bigs this year. I don't think there's much of a question here. Let's move on to number 2, and these two were actually tied. 2 of us had him at 2, 2 of us had him at 3, and the other guy was flipped. It's Bryce Harper and Freddie Freeman. I'm giving the edge to Bryce Harper because I had him at number 2 and Freddie Freeman at number 3. So there you go. Let's talk about Bryce Harper, and let's talk about how great a season he had coming back from injury. 145 games, 30 homers, 87 RBIs, a 285 batting average, and a 373 on base. Jason, how did you split the hair here between Harper and Freeman?
I mean, it's really flipping a coin. I mean, I don't know. I like the Dodgers better than the Phillies, I guess. The strikeout rate is a little bit better for Freeman than it is for Harper, so maybe that's what it was. I did give Freeman number 2, but I am feeling like there could be some red flags coming. He was hurt a lot last year. He's 35 now, so like he's not the spring chicken that he was when he first came to LA. So some things to watch for, but if he's healthy, he's still one of the best hitters in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. Harper is a great hitter. Freeman as well. They hit 3 ticks apart this year. Frank, you put Harper above Freeman like I did. How did you split the hair there?
I mean, based on, I mean, I've always been a fan of Freeman, but I mean, again, he's older, and he did get, like Jason said, he did get hurt last year a lot. Even though he played through it, it's still like, I mean, it's starting to catch up. Like the years are starting to catch up.
Yeah.
And, you know, he's kind of overshadowed in that Dodger lineup. I mean, with Betts and Ohtani and Will Smith and the other guys, like he's kind of overshadowed in that lineup. And I mean, is he the guy that's getting on base, or is he the guy that he's always, been pegged to be, that, okay, he's going to drive you in. Now he's just I'm going to get on base. I need to get on base, and Ohtani will take care of the rest, or whoever is behind him. So where Bryce Harper is kind of has that edge too. Like he has an edge on that because the guys around him aren't as good as the other ones, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I think what you're saying is that Harper is the cleanup hitter. He's the guy who kind of clears the bases, whereas Freeman's setting the table for other players on the Dodgers.
Exactly.
Mike, you talked about splitting the hair between Freeman and Guerrero. Speak to that for me.
Yeah. I mean, Freeman had a down year from, for him, but he was also injured, like you mentioned. And I had to watch him firsthand in the World Series just kick the shit out of us. So, when he's on and when he's healthy, he was going first overall last year as first baseman, like first baseman off the board. And I don't think that there's, he's a couple months away from what he did in the World Series. Bryce Harper, love him, and I would take him in a heartbeat. I don't like the second half of that Phillies lineup. I think Castellanos hitting behind him is not going to help his production. And I think Alec Baum, I'm just not on board with. Like Max Kepler, like the rest of that team after Harper, I feel like you can kind of maybe pitch around Harper a little more this year. And Freeman, as mentioned by Frank, he's got that supporting cast in front of him and behind him. So that's sort of the edge I gave Freeman.
And the one thing that we say about Freeman, we've said it in the past, I'll say it here, he doesn't slump. He's not a guy that is going to give you an 0 for 16 over a series. Like, it's just not going to happen. That's a dude you can count on, plug into your lineup. And this is, again, splitting hairs at the top here.
Yeah.
We move on to number 4. This was our consensus number 4. So the top 3 were the top 3 in whatever order. But this guy is absolutely pegged at number 4, as all 4 of us have him there. Frank Bucco, he is your number 4 as well, and your Atlanta Braves first baseman. It's Matt Olson. The floor is yours.
Oh, Lord. Okay. I mean, what he goes there, he hits 53 bombs, 52 home runs. I mean, and then he has a down season. He's still a guy that's going to play like a ton of games.
Mhm.
Like he's going to play all the time. I mean, 247, 29 homers, 98 RBIs. Again, he's in a supporting cast of a Riley and an Acuna when he gets back, and Albies and Harris, and then I'll stop there. And it's just, I mean, yeah, the batting average is like league average or almost,
Mhm.
but you know, I mean, he's still going out there hitting doubles. I mean, yeah, he strikes out a ton, but I mean, 170 strikeouts last season to 71 walks. He doesn't walk a lot, but 37 doubles will do the trick,
Absolutely.
and 29 and 98, and a 333. When the year before, 389 on base. It's just he's a hit or miss type of guy, but I mean, he's somebody that's in the middle of that lineup and is going to be there for at least the next 6 years.
He's a
So
safe option. He's a very,
yeah,
very safe
yeah.
option. What a
Mhm.
2-run homer away from a 30 and 100 season on a down year. I
Right.
think that's what we're getting at here. I find it interesting that he played all 162 last year and still had a really nice average exit velocity, still barreled the ball at an incredible rate. Jason, talk to me about our division rival here.
Yeah. Look, he played 162 each of the last 3 seasons. So
Mhm.
this is a guy who suits up every day no matter what. And that's right there is, something you look for in a slugger like this. Um, look, I drafted him last year on the turn. So really the first pick of the second round. And I knew I hated it. I hated it because I picked him with Spencer Strider, and I felt so dirty. I had to go take a shower because I was gross. And but look, I was able to turn Matt Olson into Francisco Lindor. Thank you, Costas. And
Yeah.
I felt better about it. I knew that we weren't going to get the 54 home run, 139 RBI, 283 average that we got in 2023.
Mhm.
What we got was still serviceable. It's just it was, when you look at what he did in 2023, it makes you go, ew. But I think if you go somewhere in between that for 2025, we're looking at a nice bounce back year.
Yeah, I think you could see quite an interesting season out of Olsen this year. Mike Haber, anything else to add on Olsen here?
No, I just don't sleep on, and I hate to say this with Frank on here, but don't sleep on the Braves because, Acuna coming back is a huge upgrade for that team. And that's just setting the table more for Matt Olson to do more damage.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, I think the lack of Acuna in the lineup last year for the remaining 6 months of the season after he got hurt did play into the down season that Olsen had. He doesn't have Acuna running the bases and being on base as often as he is to drive in those runs. So, yeah, I think a nice bounce back season. I think a 30 homer season is well within reach. A 100 RBI season is well within reach. And I'd like to see him score a few more runs. He scored 78 last year, which is not very good in this realm of the top end of first base. So be interesting to see what he's able to do in 2025. Our number 5 aggregate this year is the consensus number 5. So again, we have the same top 5 in different orders, but it is in fact the same top 5. This is the guy whose jersey I wear this evening, the man whose t-shirt Jason is wearing this evening. It's Pete Alonso, who's still a free agent, but I get the feeling like he's going to sign fairly soon and it'll be back with our New York Mets. I'm going to go to Mike Haber here because he's kind of the neutral party here as the non-Met fan, the non-Brave fan. Mike, how do you feel about Pete Alonso in 2025, assuming he goes back to the Mets?
Right, right. He goes back to the Mets. I like him, especially where I think you can probably get him in the draft. I like him for his value this year. I think that you know, his batting average leaves something to be desired. His strikeouts leave something to be desired, but you know that he's safe for like a 30-90 season is my floor for him going into 2025. And just looking at the rest of our first base rankings, I feel like that, or our first baseman on this list, I feel like you have to be okay with that as your floor for someone like Pete Alonso. Like putting him in the top 5 is no joke. Like he deserves to be there. Um, there's a lot of improvement he can make as far as contact goes, but having Lindor and Soto in this lineup, I don't know. I think he'll have a lot more opportunities to drive in runs this year.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what a top 3 or 4 involving Lindor, Soto, and Alonso will look like. Jason,
Yeah.
are you feeling the same way I am about this?
Absolutely. I mean, just do it already. Makes too much sense to not happen. I mean, come to an agreement. Do it already because yeah, he belonged in blue and orange. He belonged with Lindor. He belongs, at Citi Field. And look, we talked about his contact and his strikeouts. His numbers last year were very comparable to Matt Olson's.
Mhm.
243 to 240 247, 329 to 333. Like the strikeout rates were very similar. The walk rates were very similar. The home run rates were very similar. So the numbers that they put up last year were very similar, and he actually really did improve on his rate stats from last year, from 2023. So yeah, I think if he can come back to the Mets with Soto in that lineup, there are good things on the way for Pete Alonso.
Frank, I'll leave this one to you, man. What do you think about Pete Alonso at 5?
No, I'll be serious. I don't like him. But Jason's right. The the comparison to Olsen stats wise is very similar. Um, I mean, you know what you're getting. Like Mike said, you're getting a 30 and 90 season. And if you could, and where you can get him in the draft is, makes all the difference because, the top 4 or 5 guys are going to be gone, pretty straight away. One would think.
Mhm.
So if he's there in the third round, fourth round, and you can grab him, you're kind of cementing yourself from a power perspective. So there,
Yeah.
that's what nice I'll say about it.
All right. I appreciate you saying some kind words about our future first baseman. I look at it like this. If Pete has a baller season, he might be able to cash out and opt out of a shorter contract and get a big payday. At the end of the day, it wouldn't shock me if he went 40 and 120 with this lineup,
No.
right? And that's maybe the ceiling. But if this is the floor, or if 2023 is the floor, you're still getting an incredible player. So that's all we'll say there. We'll move on. And this is where things get crazy because after these 5 guys, just like at catcher, where we had 5 guys that we were pretty sure deserved to be the top 5, after this, it's wide open. Our next name is my number 7. Jason, your number 6. Mike has him at 8, and Frank has him at 7. So we all sort of have him at this next spot. And he's in a new home this year. His name is Josh Naylor of the Arizona Diamondbacks. Recent trade over to the Diamondbacks on a walk year as well. So don't forget that he's going to be trying to get a big bag next offseason. Mike, you are, in fact, the low man on this guy. Talk to us about Josh Naylor and why you've got him at 8.
I don't know, man. I don't buy in. I'm not a buy-in manager on Josh Naylor. I I don't I wish I had a better explanation other than I've seen him play a lot and the guy swings for the fences all the time. Um, and I don't know. I I honestly I don't have a good explanation. I just like the other guys that I have above him better.
And And you know what? Like sometimes, and doing these rankings, sometimes you have to go with your gut and just
Yeah.
who you think. You kind of have to block out the numbers and don't even focus on the numbers and just who you think is going to have a good year and who's not going to have a good year. I'm right with you on that.
Well, we know that you're liking the Arizona Diamondbacks lineup, so I think you like this landing spot for Naylor as well, which might speak to why you have him at 6.
Yeah, yeah, it exactly is. If he was still on the Guardians, he would probably be a few spots lower. But I like him in, after a 3,108 RBI season last year. I think there's room to improve that on a better lineup in Arizona. So yeah, I mean, the Guardians were a good team, but there was, it was Jose Ramirez was really the only protection, around him, and really Naylor was the protection for Ramirez. So I think here in this lineup with Arizona, he's gonna have guys on base in front of him with Corbin Carroll and Marte, and the guys behind him, they're not great, but Eugenio Suarez can still swing the bat. So I like this lineup. I like Naylor. Again, a walk year, right in the middle of his prime. I could see 35, 120 out of him.
That would be an incredible season on a walk year. 30, 35, and 120 is would be a hell of a season. Frank, you've got him at 7 as well as I do, with one guy ahead of him. Speak to me about Josh Naylor and what you think. What do you think you might see this year out of him in the desert?
I kind of agree with what Jason said about the lineup part, but I mean he played in with a bunch of table setters.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the 31 and 108 are inflated. I mean, and 84 runs. I mean, that's just these random Tyler Fitzgerald and whoever else is out there, or whatever guy they throw out there to play. I don't see that, past the Corbin Carrolls and the Martes of the world. Like, I don't see Lourdes Gurriel, driving him in. I mean, it's just the rest of that lineup is not good. I mean,
Josh
it's good
Naylor
at the top.
was certainly the weakest as far as hard hit percentage and average exit velocity that we've talked about so far today. He has the lowest on base percentage. He had the lowest batting average of balls in play. So there's a lot of moving parts here that give me a couple of red flags that knocked him down to 7 for me. Because our next name I have at 6, Frank has at 6, Mike has at 6, and Jason's got it 14. Jason, what's wrong with Christian Walker?
I don't know. The age scares me. I think there's gonna be injuries popping up. There already were last year. He only played 130 games last year. Um, yes, it's a nice move to Houston. I think they're gonna reap the benefits out of him. I I don't know. 251 average last year with a 335 on base wasn't bad. I just think there's gonna be a decrease, and I'm not willing to buy in on it.
Better batting average than Olson, better batting average than Alonso, better batting average than Naylor. He does have the fewest home runs and RBIs of these guys that we talked about, but again, he played 20 to 30 fewer games than all of these guys.
Because he was hurt.
Because he was hurt.
That's the that's a flag for me.
Okay. Frank, you like Christian Walker in Houston. Tell me why.
Because they went and got rid of Kyle Tucker. And again, it's all about the lineup. I mean, Altuve, Jordan, Yainer Diaz. Who knows where he's going to hit in that lineup? But I see. Here's my thing: the 26 and 84 with the 251 and the 335. I see that as a comparable season for Josh Naylor because it's the same lineup. So I like him. I like him in Houston. I think the porch is shorter in left field with the Crawford boxes, and yeah, he's in a better spot. I just see him being much.
There's a 6-year age difference between the two of them.
Mhm.
That's the thing. So if you're putting them in the same lineup, I'll take a 6-year younger Josh Naylor than a 6-year older Christian Walker.
Mike, break this tie here. Explain to us why you've got Walker at 6.
It's solid. It's reliability. Jason talks of him as if he's like a 45-year-old Julio Franco coming back. This is a 33-year-old baseball
God.
player who is 2 years younger than Freddie Freeman, who's our number 2 overall. He was hurt last year, but I'm pretty sure because he was on my team. I'm pretty sure it was some sort of freak injury. I don't remember exactly what it was. But yeah, I mean, the argument of hitting in between, sandwiched between Yordan and Yainer Diaz, who are arguably two, very, very solid hitters in the American League. I don't know. I like the move, and if he gets a full season under his belt, I could see him hitting the floor of what we talked about for Alonso, which to me at 6th first baseman overall is like, I don't know. You can't really ask anyone else for that outside of the top 6 or 7 first basemen.
I'll be interested to see who goes first in the draft, whether it is Naylor or Walker. I think these guys are probably 4th or 5th round guys, maybe 6th if they fall. But I'm really intrigued to see which one goes first in the draft.
We do know though that if Jason's drafting in front of us, we can just leave Walker there, right? Because he'll still
That's
be
right.
He'll still be there. That's right.
Leave him there till like round 26.
He's all yours.
And Jason won't take him.
Our number 8 first baseman is right around the same spot here for everybody. I have him at 9, Jason at 8, Mike at 10, and Frank also at 9. It's Vinny Pasquantino getting some respect after a really nice season this past year with 97 RBIs. Another guy who got hurt this year, only had 19 home runs, didn't have the walk total that I think we were looking for out of him this past season, but certainly didn't strike out. He had the best strikeout rate of anybody that we've talked about so far at 12.8%. Frank, you some Vinny P. Talk to me about Vinny P.
I do like Vinny P, and I like that Royals team. Much like I've talked about liking the Orioles over the past couple of years. They're not, and I mean minus Sal Perez, they're not an old team. They're a bunch of kids. I mean, Michael Garcia, Michael Garcia and Bobby Witt and Vinny, and and you have a veteran like Sal Perez in that lineup. I don't see. I like it a lot, and they made the playoffs. Yeah, he got hurt, so on and so forth. But I mean, hell, I traded for him. Why not?
Yeah.
19 and 97, 40 and 71 on the strikeout walks and strikeouts. I mean, he played 131 games, and he hit 30 doubles. Like, I'll take that guy. Oh, I would take that guy over Josh Naylor any day.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see where he goes in the draft as well. This guy I would peg somewhere in the 7th or 8th round, but it's going to be a really nice bat for somebody who wants to wait or misses out at first base. Mike Haber, you've been nodding your head the whole time. You seem to like Vinny P as well, and you're the low guy at 10.
Yeah. No, he's a solid contact first baseman. To me, this is personal preference. If I'm building my offense, I'd like to have those power positions provide as much power as possible for my team. So Vinny P is a solid contributor. The 315 on base last year I wasn't thrilled about. And I feel like the 97 RBIs was a bit inflated given how much Bobby Witt sort of exploded last year and was stealing bases left and right, and he's still going to do that. But the power numbers for me, once those start to come along, I feel like I'd be a little bit higher on this guy.
Jason, jump in here. Talk to me about Vinny P.
Yeah, and look, I don't know if it was last year or the year before, but I left him off the rankings completely because I didn't even know this guy existed. Because prior to 2024, he had played in a combined 130 some odd games between the previous 2 seasons. He came on and played 131 this year. He was also hurt, just like Christian Walker, but he's only 27. So like the rebound is there for me. 97 RBIs is fantastic, and yeah, he still has Bobby Witt in front of him, and now also Jonathan India. So like, there are guys in front of him that are going to be on the bases for him to drive in. So 100 RBIs, I can see it over a full season. And he hits the ball hard. He hits the ball pretty hard. So doesn't strike out much. Not too many holes in the game for him.
Yeah, comparable exit velocity to somebody like Christian Walker and Matt Olson. He does have the lowest on base percentage of guys that we've talked about so far, but has a better had a better batting average last year than Olson and Alonso and Walker and Naylor. So if you're looking for somebody who's going to give you a little bit of a bump in batting average, but maybe a little bit of a step back in on base percentage, this might be the guy for you. That being said, I think he can take a step forward in the on-base skill. I think that maybe the injury had something to do with the fact that he only walked 40 times last year, which is the lowest number that we've seen so far. And he is a guy that we can point to and say, he's got a good eye at the plate. He doesn't strike out. So what is missing here that we can see a step forward from Vinny P? I would love to see a big step forward this year.
They haven't projected hitting third in their lineup, by the way.
I like that. I like that a lot. I like that a lot.
Yeah. And his ex-Wobo is 325,
Okay. That's better than his 315 on base. Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it a wrist injury?
Thumb.
And that okay. Thumb is better than wrist, but
I think
still kind of
I think Walker
scares
had
me.
the wrist injury.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Vinny was the thumb.
Okay. Our number 9 first baseman is another interesting one here. I've got him at 10. Jason, you've got him at 7, which I find very interesting. Frank has him at 11, and Mike is the low guy at 13 here with Cody Bellinger, the new center fielder of the New York Yankees. Mike, you don't like Cody?
I like Cody. I'm happy we got him, but I'm worried about him. I'm worried about the inconsistency of his play. He's either a superstar, or he's atrocious, or he's striking out in every at bat, or he's somehow, almost the batting champ. Like, I don't know what we're going to get with this guy. I think he's going to be useful to the Yankees as far as a baseball player on the team goes, but fantasy wise, I don't know what he's going to give us. And I think I just need to see him play a little bit more before I can actually draft him higher than some of these guys I have above him.
Okay, fair enough. Frank, jump in here on Cody Bellinger. You've got him at 11. And do you like the landing spot of him ending up in Yankee Stadium in that lineup?
Yeah. I mean, as a left-handed hitter in the short porch in right field, I like any left-handed hitter that goes to New York, for their sake. Yeah, I mean, I agree with what Mike said. You never know what you're going to get. You don't know if you're going to get, 220 and 12 homers, or you're going to get over 300 and, or in the middle, 266, 18, and 78 on a Cub team that wasn't great. I mean, and he only played 130 games. So, I mean, it's,
another guy who missed another guy that missed about a month's worth of time with injury. Jason, you're kind of in the middle with me on this on Cody Bellinger. How are we feeling about Cody in New York?
Yeah, I think if he's healthy, which is a big if. Don't get me wrong, that's an if. But if you give me a full season of Cody Bellinger at Yankee Stadium in that lineup in that ballpark, yeah, I mean, we saw Juan Soto hit 41 home runs last year, a career high. We've seen Cody Bellinger hit 47 home runs, not at Yankee Stadium. So, if you have a full season of Cody Bellinger, there's no way, there's no reason he can't hit at least 30. And in that lineup, he could put up Pete Alonso numbers. Give me 30-90, like an Alonso kind of year, and he could honestly again in that lineup he could top it.
He comes with multiple position eligibility. He's going to be first in center field this year, obviously. It's going to be a really interesting first season in New York for him, playing where his dad won a World Series. It's going to be a lot of fun for him, I'm sure. Let's jump to the next guy here. Our number 10 first baseman is, in fact, Sal Perez. Now, here's the interesting thing about Sal Perez. Frank and I have him at 8. Jason and Mike agreed, but they have him at 16. So are we talking about an age discrepancy here with this guy, or are we just not loving Sal Perez, gentlemen? Mike, I'll start with you.
Oh, I like Sal Perez, but I don't think it's about his age. I think it's just like waiting for the shoe to drop. I feel like every year we're like, I can't do that again. He can't do it again, and then he does it again. Other than that, like I like Sal Perez. Would I feel better putting him in my catcher spot? Absolutely.
Mhm.
So I'm just a little bit lower on him in the first base position itself. Other than that, I like him as a player.
We talked at length about him in the catcher episode. Go back and check that out if you want to hear what Jason, myself, and Frank had to say on that particular guy. Let's jump to our next entry here. And this is an interesting one. He is a number 11 for us. Jason has him at 11, Frank at 12, me at 13, and Mike, you've got him at 18? What's wrong with Luis Arraez?
I'll bring back the argument I just used. I don't want a guy that's going to hit 3 home runs as my first baseman. I'm sorry. I'll put him somewhere else. I'll put him at second. I'll draft him at second or third maybe. But I don't want to have a guy hitting 3 home runs as my first baseman and then go and get like Nico Horner for my second baseman, and then my infield can't hit more than 10 home runs. So, that's just the only reason, but it's a positional thing for me.
3 straight batting titles for this guy. Ben Nisman has been all over him the last couple of years. Jason, talk to me about Luis Arraez.
Yeah, admittedly, I did have him higher up, and I think I had him as high as 6 at one point when I was doing my rankings, and I agree with you, Mike. I was like, yeah, I can't have a 3 home run guy that high for first base, but I mean, like, I don't want to say he's Tony Gwynn, but the guy is as close to Tony Gwynn as we've seen since Tony Gwynn. Like, this guy does not strike out, doesn't walk, but doesn't strike out, and the batting average is as safe as you can possibly get. So, all right, so you get 3 home runs from your first baseman, but you go ahead and draft, uh, a power hitting, a Nolan Arenado, and you get 25 home runs from third base. So, you're kind of safe there. So, I don't love him, but I think he's a pretty safe bet.
Frank, I know you love the bat to ball skills of this type of player. Talk to me about how much you enjoy this Luis Arraez.
Love 16 walks to 18 strikeouts, a 318 and a 346. Yes, I mean, but I wouldn't play him at first base. I wouldn't draft him for that position. I know he's eligible there, but and that's why we're talking about it. I wouldn't draft him for that. I mean, the guy struck out less than 30 times in the past actually less than 30 times last year, period.
Yeah.
I mean, he's consistent. Like Jason said, he's the closest to Tony Gwynn that you're going to get ever.
No doubt. No doubt.
Going forward.
Over
the
last 3 years, he's walked 109 times. He struck out 106 times.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's incredible. And it's over 637 at bats last year. Like to only strike out 29 times is absolutely mind blowing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what happens if because there's talks about it, if he gets dealt to the Mets?
Frank, I'll let you take that one.
Well, if he gets dealt to the Mets, I'm just going to throw my hat in and just say screw it. No, I mean, listen, If he gets dealt to the Mets, good for you guys. I don't have to see that idiot on the field anymore, Pete Alonso. Yeah, I mean, eh, really? Like, I don't even know. I don't even want to answer it.
I
Like,
think
I don't even want to answer that.
I think he's a guy that no matter where he goes, he's going to do what he does. So
Right.
I don't think his landing point is necessarily a predictor of his stats.
Yeah, I
Right.
think he's going to be leadoff hitter no matter where he hits, whether that's Miami, whether that's Minnesota, whether that's San Diego or Mars. He's going to be a leadoff hitter. He's not going to strike out. He's not going to walk, but he's going to hit the cover off the ball when he can. Our number 12 first baseman this year is Jason and Frank's number 13. Mike, you've got him a couple of steps lower at 15. Guys, I've got him at 19, and it's Tristan Casas. He only played 63 games last year, and we haven't really seen him play a full season, and I can't really get behind something like that until I see this dude play. Yeah, he's probably going to be good. I certainly love the swing. It reminds me very much of Freddie Freeman, but I need to see him play more in order for me to bump him up this list. Frank, I know you like yourself some Tristan Casas, so tell me about him.
I mean, again, another player I traded, or no, well, no, player I drafted last year. I'm sorry. Yeah, I mean, he's good. The rib injury, I mean, it kind of screwed him. And on top of that, you don't know where he's going to play this year. He might get traded, and I think it's very dependent. I think his stats are. He's one of those that his stats are very dependent on where he plays. If he's playing in a terrible lineup, the numbers aren't going to be what they were. I mean, he only hit 241, 13, and 32 in so many games. So, but I think I like him. I like him. What he was doing, he was raking before he got hurt and then tried to play through it. And it's just that a 241 batting average and a 337 on base. I mean, that's not terrible.
No, the 337 on base is pretty nice. He did have a 799 OPS in those 63 games, so it is you do see the trend toward him being good. Again, I just need to see it. I need to be able to point to a season and go, that's the ceiling. Because right now I don't know what the ceiling is, and I don't know but this is the floor. The floor is obviously him only playing 63 games, striking out 31.5% of the time. And it's not like he's tearing the cover off of the ball compared to his constituents. Jason, where you stand with Tristan Casas?
Yeah, I think there's life here. He does hit the ball pretty hard. Even after even with the injury last year, he's only 25. So like we're not, that's why like I have him above Christian Walker because we're talking about guys who are injured, but Christian Walker is 10 years older than him. So like I am expecting more of a bounce back from Tristan Casas than I am from Christian Walker, even though their first names rhyme. Because he's younger, so he's gonna bounce back. I like the lineup that he's in. I like the ballpark. I think this kid's gonna be something good. I could be wrong, and if we only see him play another 80 games this year, he falls down the list. But I think there's a bounce back here to happen.
Mike, jump in here. What about Tristan Casas, man?
Yeah, the only thing I want to add on is that he's, like you said, 25 years old, and the Red Sox are rumored to be floating his name out there for trades. I think there's something intangible about this guy that is not lining up for me. And like Joe said, I think I got to see more of it. I'm not ready to buy in just yet.
Yeah. Let's move on to the next name here, and this is another interesting name. We are all over the map on this number 13 first baseman. Frank's got him at 17. I've got him at 14. Mike, you've got him at 12. And Jason has him at 21. Paul Goldschmidt, the new first baseman of the New York Yankees. Yankee fan Mike Haber, how you feel about Paul Goldschmidt on a one-year deal in the Bronx?
Look, we're going from Anthony Rizzo to Paul Goldschmidt. So to me, it's an upgrade. To me, it's someone that can provide a pretty steady floor. Like there were spurts of time this year where Anthony Rizzo was not even rosterable. Not even just in the bigs, but like in regular life. So I'm happy with Goldschmidt. Obviously, we see a trend with Jason, and he's staying away from the guys that are aging, and I get that. I definitely hear that argument. But other than the aberration last year where St. Louis was obviously just plummeting across the board in lots of different categories. And we did see him turn it around in the second half last year. But I think when he has something to play for and when he's got the supporting cast around him, I think we could see a resurgence from Goldschmidt.
Frank, you hit on earlier that you like left-handed hitters in Yankee Stadium. You do have Bellinger higher than Goldschmidt, as most of us do. How do you feel about Paul Goldschmidt in this lineup, hitting around guys like Judge and Stanton and Cody Bellinger?
I mean, I don't mind it. I mean, again, his situation in St. Louis was awful. I mean, he was hitting around, Arenado and a bunch of kids. So, yeah, hitting around Arenado and a bunch of kids. It's like you don't. I mean, yes, he had a good season, but he's declining. So, I mean, but he's still a household name, and again, another player that I feel like the lineup is going to determine your value.
Jason, you've been the guy that is off of the aging players. Tell me about this ranking of at 21 for Goldschmidt.
Yeah, and I admit the move to the Yankees definitely gives him a little bit more value, a little more inflation. I'd be curious to see how he does on the 1 year. I don't know. I feel more comfortable having these guys above him just because I don't know what he's gonna provide. Like the one thing I'll give him, 11 steals last year, was pretty impressive. He's always been the kind of guy who can swipe a bag or two, but the rest of the numbers took a decline from the year before. I know the Cardinals were bad, but he was a reason why they were bad. And I don't know. I feel more comfortable having a guy like Tristan Casas, a younger kid who's going to play every day. Yeah, I mean, again, I can see it. I can see the argument for moving Goldsmith up, but I don't like it.
The one thing I'll add is that at first base, Paul Goldschmidt had the most strikeouts at the position of 179 last year, over 154 games. He is pretty much a model of health and consistency, but the strikeout numbers did tick up quite a bit for him last year. Wonder if that's going to be something that we see moving forward. We did see a decline in the power numbers, only 22 homers and 65 RBIs last year. Not indicative of something that you want to see moving forward. But on a 1-year deal, if he wants to get a bag at the end of his career, get maybe a 2 or 3-year deal after this season, he's going to need to put up a good year for his 1 year in the Bronx. These last 3 names that we have that we've all agreed upon are really interesting. I'm sure at this point, my co-hosts have all been looking over their lists going, I wonder when this guy's going to get talked about. Yep. I wonder when this guy's going to get talked about. I wonder when this guy's going to get talked. Well, let's talk about Ryan Mountcastle because that's the next name on the list here at 14. I have him at 21. Jason, you have him at 15. Mike also at 21 and Frank at 18. Jason, you're the high guy with Ryan Mountcastle at 15, right behind Christian Walker. Do you like that Baltimore is moving that left field fence in?
I do. I like Baltimore altogether. He was injured last year. Also, another guy. He only played 124 games. Um, I I was all over the map with him. I had him way high up, and then I dropped him a bunch. And I feel like this is kind of a medium spot for him. I don't love the guy, but 30 doubles in 124 games is pretty nice. So yeah, with the wall moving in, maybe some of those homers are flying over the fence. Um, Still hits the ball pretty hard. Um, he doesn't kill you in strikeouts, doesn't help you in walks. He's just kind of mediocre.
Yeah. Yeah, Frank, I know you love yourself some Baltimore Orioles. Talk to me about Mountcastle here.
I mean, he's another product of being in the middle of that lineup behind Gunnar, and if Jackson Holiday decides he's going to do anything this year, and Adley Rutschman and all those young kids, it's just a young, fun lineup, and he just cements himself in there. 271, 308 is not great. The on base percentage, he doesn't walk a lot, but he also doesn't strike out a ton. It's a consistent. I mean, he hit 30 doubles last year.
Mhm.
So I mean, you're getting on base at not a great clip, but at least you're doing your job. And that's what I like about him. If he's there late in the rounds, and it's I need a backup first baseman or utility, somebody to plug into my utility spot or flip flop or whatever. He's the type of guy that you can get late and is going to be serviceable.
We could see a nice bounce back season from him. That 30 doubles could be translated into 20-25 home runs with that wall coming in. Mike, you and I both are sitting at 21 with this guy, and my concern is that Baltimore may end up trading him. And the rumors that I've heard is that he's going to end up in Seattle, and Seattle's going to send a pitcher back to Baltimore.
Yeah.
That would absolutely ruin him for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And the fact that this team just has, prospects coming out and young guys ready to play, he's the one that goes. If someone else is ready, he's the one that's ousted from this lineup. Because you're not getting rid of Jordan Westberg. Jackson Holiday's not going anywhere. Gunner's not going anywhere. Like, this is a team where even Ryan O'Hearn, I think, has the leg up on Mountcastle. And frankly, there's nothing that this guy does that actually excites me. I don't think I'd be comfortable having him as my starting first baseman in my fantasy team.
Yeah. I tend to agree. I wouldn't want him as my starter, but you know what? As a backup or a utility option, like Frank said, not a bad option there.
Yeah.
Our number 15 first baseman. So if Ryan Mountcastle was 14, where the hell are we at 15? He's my number 25. Frank, you've got him at 15. Jason at 24. Mike at 20. It's Michael Toglia.
Wow.
Yeah, we all agree that Michael Toglia deserves to be on this list. Jason, you are our resident Colorado Rockies fan. Talk to me about Michael Toglia and why he's not Nolan Jones.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm the resident Rockies fan, but since I go there and I root for whoever they're playing, but look, yeah, somebody in this lineup has to perform, right? And I guess if it's not going to be Nolan Jones, make it be this guy. He came out of the shoots last year and had a decent year. Came out of nowhere. He's gonna play every day here in Colorado. He hit 25 home runs in 116 games. So if he plays 150, I mean 30, 35 home runs. So the protection, nothing else in the lineup is gonna do anything, but he is.
He struck out 32% of the time and hit 218. That's my argument
look,
against him.
I have him at 24.
I've got him at 25. Frank, you really like this kid, number 15 on your list.
I always say the altitude makes you serviceable. It's 25 and 55 and 400 at bats. I mean, I don't know that anybody else is doing that there. I mean, it sure as hell ain't Chris Bryant.
No.
So, you gotta again play to the ballpark. And 54 walks, 147 strikeouts. That's ugly. He did steal 10 bases.
He did
Steal 10 bases and was only caught once. The 767 OPS isn't awful.
No, that's pretty damn good.
Yeah. And I mean, well, who else are you looking at besides Tovar in that lineup? I mean, Nolan Jones sucks. So it's just like, eh, yeah, I mean, besides Brett and Doyle.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the
It's
other
only a
name.
couple guys. It's only a couple guys.
Yeah,
So if this guy's going to ball out, let him do it. I mean,
Let him-
why not keep him up there?
Hey,
He's young too.
he might go 30 and 100 for all we know, and he could end up being, somewhere in the back end of the top 10 next year. He could also
makes the
All your
person.
RBIs in this lineup is going to be tough to deal with, though.
really tough to do. I agree. 100 RBIs would be very tough to do, but if he hits 30 homers, I mean, anything's possible, right?
Sure.
Mike Haber, he does hit the ball incredibly hard, 92.1 average exit velocity, over 50% hard hit rate, and barrels the ball at 17.3% last year. Is there any shot that he hits 30 and 100 this year?
I don't think 100. I think he gets a 30 home runs with, what did he do last year in 450 at bats? 450 played 25 and stole 10 bases. Like, yeah, it's something to get excited about. But I think there's a reason we all have him where we have him. Like, I know Frank's kind of the high guy on him. I have him at 20. So again, so this is another guy I don't feel comfortable anchoring my team.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. But again, DH utility spot, backup first baseman. That's a pretty if your first baseman gets injured, this is a decent dude to plug into the lineup, and I think he's going to get drafted. I would believe that he'll get drafted.
Yeah. And I think if we're projecting, this time next year, we could be talking about a top 15 player.
Yeah,
possible. The final guy that we all agree on. So if Michael Toglia was 15, who the hell is 16? I see you guys all looking at me like I'm crazy, but it's Michael Busch.
What?
24 apiece for me and Mike, 22 for Jason, and 19 for Frank. Michael Busch ends up cracking the top 25. I'm just going to say this much. Michael Busch strikes out too much. He had a nice little walk percentage, hit 21 homers. He's just an average guy. I don't know that he's actually going to. He wasn't even really rosterable in the bigs last year. He was a replacement for guys at first and third base. I'm not entirely sure that he's going to be a guy that we see take a step forward in a Cubs lineup that just got Kyle Tucker, but got rid of Isaac Paredes and Cody Bellinger. So,
yeah,
I don't know. Anybody want to jump in on Michael Busch?
No, I'm just hurt that some of these guys are not in our aggregate top 16 that are on my list. I'm hurt.
Oh, trust me. We're gonna get to that. We're gonna
get to that. Apparently we're gonna get yelled at.
I agree with you on Busch.
That's at the end. I have one thing that I have to nitpick on you guys for. Let's talk about the 5 guys that were on 3 lists but missing in 1. And Mike Haber, I'm going to start with you.
Okay.
Because my number 12, Jason's number 12, Frank's number 10. Where the hell is Yandy Diaz on your list, and why is he not there?
He's hurt because his brother rostered him all year last year. That's what it is.
Yeah, but what the hell did he do for my brother last year? This guy
won him a championship, didn't he?
Yandy Diaz? I don't know about that.
281 batting average.
Contribution.
281 batting average, 341 on base, 14 homers, 65 RBIs. I get it. It's pedestrian. But the batting average is better than just about everybody we've talked about, with the exception of Vlad and Harper and Freeman.
Look, part of it though is the Rays themselves, and I don't like that offense. I don't like them to score more than 3 runs in a game, and it's it's a consistent thing with the Rays that I don't feel comfortable drafting any of them and having them be a regular player on my team.
Playing in a minor league park this year.
That's exactly the great point, and that minor league park has the exact same dimensions of Yankee Stadium. So if you believe in the Yankees, you have to believe that left-handers will do well in George M. Steinbrenner Field, or whatever the hell it's called.
You got it right.
I did?
Yeah.
Nailed it.
So Yandy Diaz is off the list for Mike Haber. Frank, my number 11, Jason and Mike's number 19. You're not liking Alec Boehm this year, huh?
No, I don't.
Out on it.
Again, we don't know where he's going to get. We don't know if he's going to play in Philly, and I think the numbers are literally inflated because of where he plays. I mean, and the guys that are in front of him. Like, if he went to a Seattle, do you think he's putting up, 280, 15, and 97?
Same number of
Doubtful.
RBIs that Vinny Pasquantino had in similar number of games. But yeah, you're right. It might just be a one-year aberration. The power isn't necessarily there. He does hit in a hitter's ballpark, but only 15 home runs.
He's more of a doubles type hitter.
Yeah,
44 doubles.
44 doubles is really nice. It did lead the position alongside Vlad. So there is that to sort of hang your hat on. He's a young guy, Jason. You seem to like him.
28. This is his prime. I have him at 19. I don't love the guy. He kind of like how Mike described Mountcastle doesn't excite me. But the lineup is there. I can't rank a guy based on whether he might get traded. So I know that right now he's a Philly, so I'm ranking him as a Philly, and he's gonna be in that lineup. And it's a good place to be in. 97 RBIs each of the last 2 years is not nothing. He's consistent. He's not a power guy. Yeah, decent power guy, not a huge power guy. Has third base eligibility too. So I like him. I don't love him, but he's all right.
I have him at 11. And it's for everything that you just said and more. The 44 doubles is nasty. The 97 RBIs is good. A 280 batting average, 332 on base. Only struck out 14% of the time last year. Did get a decent number of walks. Wasn't an outstanding walk participant. Doesn't hit the ball incredibly hard, but is just fine. And if he's going to be a product of the Phillies lineup and a product of the Phillies ballpark, I'm willing to put stock into a guy who's dual eligible at first and third. I'm not saying I'm going to draft him in the top 5 rounds, but I will be eyeing him on draft day if I end up with a similar team that I had last year with all of the Phillies in my lineup. Jason, it's time to pick on you, my friend. My number 15, Mike's number 11, and Frank's number 14. You're missing Spencer Steer.
What's up? Just missed my cut. He was 26. He was my 26th. And just because I think he disappointed last year for what I was looking for from him. He lost a couple of positions, so that took away some points. He hit 225 with a 319 on base. Only a 96 OPS plus. So I felt like I was expecting more from him last year, and he didn't perform that in a full season. So I took other guys who I think have more potential than he does.
He was far and away the leader in the position for stolen bases. He had 25 last year, 20 homers, 92 RBIs. He hits in a great ballpark. Yeah, he only hit 225. He had a 260 batting average on balls in play. That's not great. So I'm willing to believe that maybe he's going to hit more toward his expecting batting average of 237. Anybody else want to jump in on Spencer Steer?
I was just going to say, which other first baseman can you potentially get 2020 from? Name one.
Yeah, I'll get my steal somewhere else though. Like, okay. I'd rather go for the guys like a Tristan Casas or something like that, and get my steals from my center fielder.
Okay.
All right. Fair enough. Jason, you also don't have Alec Burleson on your list. We have him in the 20s, respectively, across the board here. I assume that this is because Wilson Contreras is going to be playing first base.
Yeah, I had him in there at one point, and I think I might also have him in my outfield ranking somewhere. He was an intriguing guy because of the power, but I don't know if the playtime is going to be there, and the strikeouts are going to be a lot. So I said no thanks.
Only struck out 12% of the time last year in 150 games. It's pretty impressive. 21 homers, 78 RBIs, and a 269 batting average. Very nice. Very nice.
See, I want to look at if Roster Resource says he's going to be a starter, because
I would think so. I think that they're going to have him somewhere.
Yeah, they have him as the DH. Oh, well, platooning DH with some other guy, but yeah,
Oh, that's
guy.
great.
I
That's
guess
so
it's possible.
funny.
I don't know. I guess I just need to see it again from this guy because we've never really seen anything like this from him before.
The poor Cardinals. They were so good for so long, and now they're just sort of floundering with their young talent, and hopefully some of them pick it up and get this team back to relevancy.
Yeah.
And
My
their
outlier,
princess 35-year-old third baseman. Go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah. My outlier here, Mike, you have him at 14, Frank at 16, Jason, he just made your list at 25. I don't have Jake Berger, and that very well might be an oversight by me. I'll take that one for what it's worth, especially after the trade of Nathaniel Lowe, who didn't make two lists, but yet was Jason's number 9. So let's pair these two guys together, Nathaniel Lowe and Jake Berger. I feel like they're going to be married this season. So let's talk about that. Nathaniel Lowe, Jason, you have him at 9.
Yeah, maybe that's too high, but I like the 361 on base. I think look, I think the Nationals are actually going to be a fun young team to watch, and this guy's going to be right in the middle of it. We've talked about it a couple of times on different shows. I'm not sleeping on the Nationals. I think they're going to be contending pretty damn soon, and he's going to be right there. He's 29. He's right in his prime. 16 doubles last year was not great, but 38 the year before. So somewhere in the middle is probably a good landing spot. I don't know what's wrong. I don't know what I'm missing. What's wrong with this game?
I have him. Where the hell do I have him? I have him at 20. He has a nice 361 on base percentage. 71 walks is pretty nice. I just don't think he can consistently hit for power. And I think this goes to what Mike has spoken about you wanting to have a power hitting guy in that lineup at first base. Frank, I'm going to come to you about Jake Berger here because you got him at 16. I happen to have him off the list, but I have him at 26. So, he didn't like completely fly out of my radar. What am I missing from Jake Berger here?
You're missing. Well, I mean, I'm not going to tell you what you're missing because I don't have a crystal ball. But what I will tell you is this: this guy, on a Marlins team that is awful. 134 hits, 29 homers, 76 RBIs. He struck out a ton, 150. But I mean, again, the lineup makes the person. I mean, as we can, have seen at some point. Like he's in a Texas lineup now with Corey Seager and Adolis Garcia and Marcus Semien. Uh, yeah, Wyatt Langford, if you want to call that guy a guy. But yeah, I mean, you're going to play first base. He's probably going to start now that Nathaniel Lowe's not there. Nathaniel Lowe isn't on my list. But yeah, I could see 30 and 100 out of this guy. I mean, just gives I could see 30 and 100 out of him. I mean, 29 and 76 in Miami.
Yeah.
He's hit 250. He's hit 250 each of the last 3 years, I think, and that's a pretty consistent, above average hitter. So I'm willing to bump him up a little bit here. Maybe I've got him a little bit too low.
Roster Resource right now has him batting 8th in the lineup.
Yikes! That's not great.
They got Semien, Seager, Langford, Jock Peterson, Adolis Garcia, Josh Young, Evan Carter, Jake Berger, and Jonah Heim. So if that's how it's going to be,
young kids in front of him. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Langford and Carter in front of him,
and Young. Yeah,
that's interesting. I'm interested to see where he's hitting in the lineup come spring training and come the beginning of the year. I think that'll really tell what kind of season he's going to have. All right, boys. Now I need to have a conversation with you. What if I were to tell you guys that there was a guy last year with 23 homers, 71 RBIs, Struck out only 16.5% of the time. Hit the ball incredibly hard. Walked fairly decently. He had 65 walks in 150 games. That equated to a 328 on base percentage and a 238 batting average. I'm not saying he's great. I'm not even saying that he's going to be a starter. But he's my number 17. Somebody tell me what's wrong with Carlos Santana.
He's old.
Okay. Model of consistency. 20 homers and 75 RBIs, I think, is a lock in Cleveland.
And if you attempt to draft him, you may get kicked out of the bigs by our commissioner. I'm
True,
just
no true
saying.
words have ever been said.
Right?
Yeah, that's got to play a role in our rankings here. Is like we realistically don't see him on any of our teams.
Yeah.
No.
I think he's worth at least talking about here. I mean, the move to Cleveland, replacing Josh Naylor here, opens up an opportunity for him. He was absolutely wonderful there in the early part of his career, and now he gets to finish his career back in Cleveland where he succeeded so much. I'm not saying he's going to go 30 and 100. I don't even think he's going to go 25 and 80. But if he goes 20 and 75, that's a pretty good season for a dude who's not going to kill you on strikeouts. He had a really bad batting average on balls in play, so I could see that tick up a little bit. Switch hitter, gotta love that. Right behind Jose Ramirez, one would assume Roster Resource has him hitting there.
He does. They do. Yes.
Okay. So he's hitting right behind one of the best players in baseball. The team is, look, they were a playoff team last year. They won their division last year, so they are one of the better teams in the American League. I just think he was overlooked by you three guys, and shame on you. Shame on each and every one of you.
We were just respecting our commissioner.
I was not respecting our commissioner. I don't know. Yeah, he doesn't excite me. There's competition there with Manzardo and Big Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
He's a fine utility guy, sure, but he's not somebody I'm drafting as a starter. That's for sure.
All right.
It is Christmas name. I'm sorry. It's fantastic.
Big Christmas.
Yeah, I love
He's
that.
the new Franmil Reyes.
Yeah.
I love that.
He's the new Oscar Gonzalez. Who knows what he's going to be. It is time to talk about sleepers, breakouts, and busts, gentlemen. Hopefully we all have those ready to roll. I'm going to start with Jason. Jason, who is your sleeper at first base this year?
A guy who I didn't put in my rankings, but I like him, and he's moving over to the position full time this year. Give me some Colt Keith.
Yo, I like it.
Yeah,
same.
Yeah, I think he's gonna have a really nice year this year. I hope anyway.
Yeah, he's replacing Spencer Torkelson at first base, and that guy, who knows what he's going to be.
Good for that guy.
You know what? He could end up getting traded to Seattle, too. They could be looking for a starter to pair with Tariq Skubal, and that could be the piece that goes back the other direction. So
Luis Castillo, boom.
There you go. Bang. So Colt Keith is also my sleeper. Frank, who is your sleeper at first base?
Rhys Hoskins.
Nice, on the Brewers.
Yeah. I mean, with the kids that are playing there, Terang and Churio, and I think he's going to get opportunities. These kids are going to get on base, and I think he'll have the opportunity to, drive them in, and maybe bounce, just do better than what he did. So
We got no competition.
Yeah, no competition. He's making plenty of money that they're going to have to play him there. 26 homers and 82 RBIs last year is not something to sneeze at, but a 214 batting average and a 250 batting average on balls in play is not pretty. Maybe he can tick that up a bit this year and come out as a top 15 guy at the position. Mike Haber, who you got as a sleeper this year?
I got 3 questions before that. Sorry.
Yeah.
Mark Vientos not qualified at first base this year?
Mark Vientos missed 2 of our lists, and one of them was mine. I am reserving the right to put him in if Pete does not sign with us.
And I did the opposite. I put him in with an asterisk to reserve the right to take him out if Pete signs.
But he's still first base. He's eligible, isn't he?
No.
Pete played 162 last year.
No, he's not eligible.
He's not eligible at first.
Right.
Okay.
Officially. Yeah.
Santander, not eligible?
No, he only
No.
played right field last year.
Okay, so this is where my list went wrong. Okay. I'm gonna go Nolan Shanuel, if that's
Okay.
even saying it correctly.
It is.
But I kind of like some of these young Angel hitters. I hate the Angels, but if Mike Trout comes back and he's Mike Trout, and then we've got Zach Neto and Logan O'Hoppe, and we got some other young players, maybe Taylor Ward can come back. He showed flashes of getting on base and being a leadoff hitter last year when he was experimented in that role. So, maybe he can bring up the on base percentage, get some walks and some runs for us.
Yeah, and 10 stolen bases last year. That was pretty nice to see from your first baseman. Who knows what we'll get out of him this year? Maybe the Angels won't be a complete dumpster fire. Let's talk about the breakout candidate. Mike, I'm going to start with you on this one. Who you got as your breakout?
Well, I can't go with any of the guys that shouldn't be on here, so we're not going to go with Mark Vientos. I'm going to go with let's take Jake Berger. Let's take Jake Berger in Texas. Yep.
All right.
I like him there, and I think that he will hit. Hot take, I think I'll hit 40 home runs this year.
Whoo, that is scorching hot from Mike
That'll be
Haber.
a big burger.
That'll be a big burger.
Yeah, double cheeseburger. Frank, who you got as your breakout?
I have Tristan Casas as my breakout this
All
year.
right. Let's see him.
Like me some of that guy.
Let's see him live up to potential and put up 30 bombs. That would be really nice to see. Jason, who you got as your breakout?
My breakout is Mike Sleeper. I did rank Shinewell. I had him 23. We went to the same school, me and him. He was drafted out of FAU. Go Owls. And look, the Angels thought enough of him to draft him and then bring him up to the big leagues in the same year. So there's got to be something there. 13 home runs, 54 RBIs last year on a shitty Angels team. Yeah, I mean, take a step forward. Give me 20 and 75.
Okay. Breaking out for Nolan Shanuel. Mine is going to be a guy that was mentioned just a few minutes ago, Kyle Manzardo. I like him in Cleveland. I liked the deal that Cleveland got when they sent Aaron Savale down to Tampa. And I think he's going to be able to get some playing time either at DH or first base, depending on how they feel about Carlos Santana there. But I could see a nice season out of this dude. They did play him very little down the stretch, but he was in the playoff roster. He was in the playoff lineup. And we could definitely see something a bit more from a guy who only played 53 games last year. This is time for the bust. Let's start with Jason. Jason, who you have as your bust candidate this year?
I'm going with Freddie Freeman.
That's hot.
I just there are flags starting to pop up. I think he's still gonna have a fine season.
Mhm.
I don't know. He's gonna get first round drafts, and I'm afraid of the age. I'm afraid of the injuries, and I think we're gonna start seeing a decline. And I don't know if I'm willing to pay first round pick for him.
Freddie Freeman as the bust as a first round pick for Jason. Frank, who you got as your bust this year?
Spencer Steer.
Okay.
I don't think he recreates what he did last year.
You can see the writing on the wall already with a 225 batting average. Continue.
Right. I mean, just I don't think it's 25 steals. The RBI numbers aren't there. It's the Ellie De La Cruz show in Cincinnati at this point. So, I mean, I just don't see it.
Out on Spencer Steer.
Yep.
Mike Haber, who you got as your bust?
Luis Ariz.
Doesn't win a batting title? What are you thinking?
As soon as Luis Ariz doesn't win a batting title, what value does he really bring to your team other than a couple of good contact and decent average? But if he's hitting 280, you're missing out big time. So
hey,
I won't draft him this high.
Team. You got him on your team, and you're down by 2 strikeouts, and you might win that category.
I do think he's going to be a consistent contributor in the runs category. He did have 32 doubles last year. Again, no power, 4 homers, 46 RBIs, and 9 steals. That's not going to play. And I think you said it best. He does fit better as a second baseman, which is next week's show. Be prepared for that one, guys. My bust this year, I'm sorry, Mike. It's Paul Goldschmidt. It's Paul Goldschmidt. We saw the decline start over the last couple of years. I'm not in love with him playing in the Bronx because though we do like when guys go to Yankee Stadium, hitting it out to left field is a lot harder than hitting it out to right field. And Paul Goldschmidt has pulled the ball a ton over the last couple of years. He's started to strike out way too much for me. Again, led the position with 179 strikeouts last year. I'm not in love with this, and I think this is going to be the start of a decline. I think he's going to get a 1-year deal next year, have a worse season, and then I think that might be it for him. That being said,
Jose Abreu.
Yes, exactly. Jose Abreu. Guys, that will do it for first base. I am so happy that we were able to get this in just about an hour. Frank, thanks so much for being here with us, my man.
Yes, absolutely. I love it. I love doing this, talking to you guys. So it's great.
Mike Haber, thank you for being here with us this evening, my friend.
Yes, thanks so much for having me again. Looking forward to joining you guys again soon. Can't wait.
Yeah, absolutely. Jason, we're on to second base next week. Are you excited?
I'm ready for Keystone. I got a few more tweaks to make, but I'll be ready. And yeah, this is I can't believe we're talking baseball. Like, around the corner. Like, pitchers and catchers are a month away.
Mm-hmm. Pitchers and catchers are a month away. The Bigs draft is 2 months away or so, maybe 10 weeks away. And we will be here breaking down each position as we get closer. Can't wait to continue talking with you guys. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Until next time, guys, it's been real, it's been fun, and it is always real fun in the Bigs. We'll see you next time.